Welcome everyone to the Real Estate Experience Podcast. Super excited as always to have you on these. Those of you on the YouTube, you know the next steps. Hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. There's a nice glare off my head because I've got a nice clean shave. But today we've got Ellis Hammond that is on. Thanks so much, Ellis, for being on.
What's up, man? Great to be here. Pumped to be here. We're just talking about you had Grant Cardone on not too long ago. So here I am sharing the same stage as Uncle G. So, I feel like I made it, man. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And you've got so much more, of course. And so just a little bit about Ellis, and he'll go into his background as well, is he's got his hand in multiple buckets and avenues. He's got Kingdom REI, where just in that community, what he's been building with that, just overall, just $2 billion in terms of assets under management, or just the multiple sectors in which that capital is deployed in. And it's in self-storage, it's got multifamily. And one fun fact about him is he's got a new puppy, or a newer, newborn puppy is what you would call it. And also, yeah, there we go. I'll just keep it simple. And he's a former pastor, now turned real estate investor. So yeah, Ellis, could you give everyone just your 5% in terms of your journey on what's ultimately shaped you to who you are today and how you got into real estate?
Absolutely, man. Really excited to be here. Yeah, I really want to have a conversation, so I'll be brief. I was a former pastor. We were actually serving as a missionary here in San Diego, California, and we raised all the money we needed for our nonprofit. And it was really during that time, man, where I just began to see the need for capital, and that we needed to create our own vehicles to build and create wealth to support the things that we were passionate about. Had no idea how to do that. This was only 3 years ago, so just an encouragement to anyone who's listening and just getting started. Like, for those who are hungry, and those who really want to, make a difference in their life, they can do it, because I had no wealth building knowledge or experience or background, and here we are today, managing this community, have our own investment fund. So we just got hungry, man, did some training, some education, bought a duplex here in San Diego, which was our start. Ended up doing our first syndication while we were still pastoring. And then in 2020, we launched really officially, kind of more full-time out of the vocational ministry side and into the world of real estate and entrepreneurship. And that's where we sit today.
Gotcha. So how did you get into this realm of entrepreneurship or investing as a whole? Did you read a book? Did your parents? Yeah. How did you, or did you just fall into it from the universe?
Yeah. Well, so the first way we got started, I love sharing the story, man, because this is how, I really think God just opens up doors for those who are looking for opportunities. I'm driving in the car and I was like, I just have been asking God, I want to find a way to go and build and create wealth. I don't know how to do it, right? And so I remember praying that, and on the radio, I get an ad. It's crazy, like how the radio ads still work.
Yes.
If you want to learn how to build wealth through real estate, come to this 2-hour seminar, call this number, which would have never, how many times you call a number on the radio, like the top 0.01%, but dude, they hit me. I was at the right time, and I was like, what do I got to lose? I'm hungry. I want to learn. So guess what I did? I took action. I executed. I picked up the phone. I reserved my spot. And I went to this 2-hour seminar. It was the first time I ever saw, Sterling, normal blue collar folks, average Joes building wealth through real estate. Because I thought up to that point that real estate was the end game for the wealthy. And what I realized in that moment was that real estate was actually the starting point for all who desire to go and build and create wealth. And so that changed my perspective. I didn't, it was one of those things where they wanted to buy into the chorus and all this stuff.
Yes.
I ended up doing that. But what I did was like, oh, well, let me go figure out I didn't have no money, so I couldn't go buy their $40,000 course. I was like, well, there's got to be resources. So that's where I learned about podcasts like yours and reading books. And honestly, man, it was probably a course of about 4 or 5 months where I just didn't go anywhere without, listening to something. And so, 4 months later, we bought our first deal, and it was life-changing.
And around what time was this, Ellis?
Yeah, that was 2000. So we closed on our first property in January 1 of 2017. So that was 2016-ish, right, when we went to that seminar. Probably that summer, right before I got married. And then October, we had found that first property and closed in beginning of 17.
And it's great that you mentioned is just taking action. And so what is it out of you And the other people that, of course, sign up for these and don't have success, what do you believe is the differentiating factor in that case?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I mean, it's execution. Like it's
Oh,
knowing
yes.
what you're not able to accomplish. Here's the thing: I really didn't know what I was doing, and so what I didn't say was, well, screw it. Like this is just too hard. I can't find a deal. San Diego's too expensive. I knew that if I was going to accomplish this, I had to go find someone who could help me. And so I knew real estate was the vehicle, but I didn't know how to access it. So I literally just started evangelizing my friends in the sense of like, I want to buy I want to buy real estate. Who do you know? And finally, I got introduced to a mentor here in San Diego, and he was the guy who literally held our hand and walked us through our first deal. I would have probably, I would say I never would have gotten in, but golly, Sterling, everything that's good that's happened in my life, man, I've not done on my own. And I think so many people try and go at this on their own. And so if you're not moving fast enough, like go find people to help execute, with you. But I think execution is the key. For me, that was executing on people, finding someone to really guide me through that first process. And that was the accelerator for us to kind of get on.
And I got two big things from that. Definitely execution, because there's so many, of course, ideas. There's people who have thousands of ideas, but it comes down to the person that actually executed on it. And it's, oh, that person on, let's say, I'm trying to think, some infomercial that has your idea and absolutely is crushing it and doing well with your ideas. They're the one had the same idea too, but they actually went and acted on it. So that's one. And then the second was mentoring myself to Ellis. Is when I made the transition from construction to actually investing, I found someone who I didn't have the money. I actually had negative funds in my bank account when I started, in which I was able to offer my time in exchange for their mentorship. And I went to college, didn't get anything from that. And this mentorship paid for, I mean, I'm still reaping those benefits from that. So for your mentorship, what were the key things that you did learn from that?
I mean, everything. Like like how to underwrite a deal, this guy, I remember we sat there, we build the closets together, right? I mean, what I think the biggest thing though, like I just learned from that guy, really how to look at deals. And, this concept that I talk about all the time, that money flows to value. We bought a really shabby place here in San Diego. I mean, it was not good when we bought it.
Okay.
And we are now under contract to sell this duplex for more than about twice of what we bought it for, and over $500,000 a unit is what we're now selling this duplex for. Just a couple years later. Why? Because what he taught me was that money flows to value, and how to create value in an asset that people will be willing to pay for. And so that was huge, man. I mean, he really gave me so much, and honestly, just like the hunger to go and do more. And so that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned about limiting beliefs, because I really want to go down the mindset, because I believe that's another thing that you mentioned is execution is what separates the people in essence from all the people who heard that radio ad same as you and were also at the 2-day event, but they didn't gain much traction after that. And one was due to execution. Is what has been one limiting belief that you've had, let's say the recent 5 years, that you've replaced with a more empowering one?
So I wrote a book recently, and I talk about three, and there's, which one do I want? I mean, there's so many I could probably give, but
And what is the name of the book? I want to ensure we keep.
Yeah, Mission of Multifamily, and you can just go to missionofmultifamily.com if you want to grab a download. You can download that book for free right now, actually. But I would say the biggest limiting belief, man, was that I thought for so long, and this comes from my faith upbringing. I feel like the Christian church has done a really poor job of helping people see the real value of entrepreneurship, business ownership, etc. I thought I really probably would say that money was secondary to the mission, that money really was probably more evil than money equaling influence. And so the biggest barrier, man, was this idea that I could not become a master over my money, that money was always going to have mastery over me. And
And was that conflicting in the way that they say money is the root of all evil, but you're saying I'm a good person.
yeah.
How can I become wealthy? It's like
Yeah.
conflicting. Why would you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Because there's such this fear of like, well, because we have this idea that money's evil, and it's the love of money that is evil, right? And so and again, that there's a lot, there is this tension that we have to deal with. But I think we live in this fear that never really allows us to openly and with freedom talk about and just say, dude, I want to get wealthy because I want to begin how to know how to use and steward that wealth, right? Because if I never say, Sterling, I want to get wealthy, then I can never say I want to use wealth in order to impact and influence lives. Because if you don't make it, you can't use it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to first say, wealth is okay. Like, because if you don't want to go get it, then how can you ever use it?
It's a great thing. It's awesome. So many things that you can do with it. I mean, if you have, and this is one case I know I jumped in, but I get passionate about this as well. Is it? Yeah. If you have someone, and Grant talks about this too, is so I had a family, just to be transparent for everyone, that was facing eviction, in which they were someone close to me. In essence, they were a little bit hesitant on asking me to help them out. But just thinking the scenario, if I didn't have the money to be able to help that person, one, my problem is I don't have enough money. And two is now that person. So there's two problems there versus one, it solves problems at the end of the day, and it creates more freedom.
100%, man, 100%. So that was huge for me. Understanding that, I remember reading this book. I think it was called, gosh, so good, man. It's like a little tiny book. You've probably read it, Sterling. It's going to come to me in a little bit, man. But I remember in one of those chapters, he like gives you permission to say out loud, like, I want to become wealthy. And I remember, man, like I was sitting on the beach with my wife reading that chapter, and I'm like, what's she gonna say if I just say this out loud right now? You know what I mean?
And how did that go? We got to know.
I think I was just like, listen, babe, I got to do this. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got to say this. She's telling me I got to say this. And I feel like I'm so scared to say this is even more reason why I got to say this right now. And she's like, you're crazy. I'm like, I know, but our lives are going to be different, right? From this point forward. And she's been so supportive, man. She also thinks I'm crazy. So, it's good though. You got to be a little crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know?
If not, you're just in the same box as everyone else. And that's a whole nother, of course, conversation and rabbit hole. And I feel once you take a different trajectory, people who formerly knew me and they talk to me now, they just say, you're different. But that's good. I want to hear those things because that just shows I'm in an entirely different mindset.
That's it, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And so through your journey is what has been one failure that you experienced that later set you up for success?
Yeah. So this year's been just like a roller coaster, man. We left the vocational ministry. We started this mastermind, our firm. I'll say there was one that really sticks out to me that I'll never forget this moment in 2020. We were probably like in the month of April or May. We had already kind of launched our mastermind. We had an offer. Folks had signed up for it, but it was really only enough to kind of get me through like the first 4 or 5 months from like a income standpoint. And so we were trying to figure out how to better our offer. And so I, sent this out to a bunch of people, and I thought folks were going to close, and no one did. And so, we had to close. We had to like make some income over the next couple of weeks, or like we weren't going to get paid for like another 2 months, kind of the way our offer worked. And so I'm like, well, dang, like this sucks. Like, man, maybe this is, all of these mindset things. Well, man, am I really good enough? Is our offer really good enough? Is this going to continue to work? And I just literally throwing this, you can't see it right now, but I'm in my office, my home office. I'm laying on the floor and I'm thinking.
Hardwood floor or carpet?
Carpet over hardwood, right?
Just random question.
Right? Like, should we just give up? Like, is this even worth it? And I remember in that point thinking, this is one of my principles for our family is never, ever quit. Right? Never, ever give up is what I want to teach my kids. And I just remember thinking that, like, no, you're not going to quit. You're not going to give up. And so I remember standing up and just start mapping out. And you know what I did is it's so important. I called my friend and said, hey, man, I need help. I need help creating a better offer because I know we got something good. I need to figure out how do we accelerate. I can't wait 2 months. We got to do this now. 10 minutes later, we had an offer. And here's the crazy thing, Sterling. All of those people I went and said, literally, it was about 10 people that said no the past 24 to 48 hours. We came up with a new offer. I called all 10 of them, and 7 of them said yes to that new offer.
Nice.
And it has changed our business completely. We went from 8 members in our mastermind to now over 40 because we refused to give up, came up with an offer that people wanted, and we created more value than what we had previously. So I just think like that was something for me of like not giving up, pivoting, and figuring out to create value for folks. And so that's been massive for me.
And I love that you mentioned, because that's one of the keys to entrepreneurship. And there was the book. Have you read Lean Startup by Eric Ries?
No, I haven't. I'll check that out though if you recommend it.
But it just talks about like in essence pivoting, and I feel that's one of the things about entrepreneurship is the market is the market, and the market was your audience, people looking to get signed up in terms of mastermind group, or let's say you're looking to rent one of your current apartments and it's just not renting. The market is telling you, and as an entrepreneur, you've got to be willing to make those pivots, or you'll be crushed.
Same thing we've done on the real estate side. So we have a syndication firm. We're trying to buy single assets, large multifamily, similar to you, in Arizona, New Mexico, a couple of markets. We've really struggled this year, man. We've made several offers. We've not really had any momentum, so we really haven't made much money in that business. And I just said, but we have investors. We have people looking to place capital. And so I said, well, do I want to finish the year with a goose egg, or do we want to figure out like how do we actually help the folks that are with us? And so that's why we launched this fund, because so just a pivot to say, well, dude, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing because the market's not allowing it. We're going to go find people who are closing deals, who do have great opportunities, because if I can bring the money, then we can find ways to work together. And so we pivoted. It's not like we've given up on this other stuff, but we got to pivot along the way to figure out how to get things done and really continue to create value and make money in the world of entrepreneurship. So, if you're not making offers, you're not making money either. So that was another pivot that we recently decided to go the fund route, because I know we can actually go bring in capital. The deal side is really what we've struggled with this year. And so that was another pivot that we made this year.
Yeah. And I want to dig into that too. And thanks for queuing that up. Is when you are looking at these operators, because I know some people on here are general partners, they're doing their own deals, but they also are considering pivoting too and raising money and partnering with others on their deals. So what are the key things you look for an operator, or what are the red flags to avoid?
Dude, I got a whole checklist on this. Actually, I haven't given this PDF.
Nice.
I do, because I got one for folks. It's actually just real quick, man. So but this is so conversational. For those who are really trying to raise money and stuff, you got to have call to actions, because if people don't know how to come work with you or download your stuff, I built a big portion of my investor list from this PDF, ellishammond.com/checklist. This was when I was still a pastor, because was my business model, just raising funds. Mm-hmm. And so we created a checklist that we use to vet out sponsors. And so anyone can download that at ellishammond.com/checklist. But really, from the sponsor, Sterling, the affiliate that we have now for Fund 1, we met them earlier this year. We did a podcast show together. It really is about the person, man. Before it's about anything else.
Is it the jockey, not the horse?
It really is, because if you don't trust this operator, you don't feel that they're all in like you are, it's just not going to work out. And so I just think having a relationship, knowing you want to work with this person, this affiliate that we're working with on this fund, these guys are doing something really innovative around faith-based investing that I really love. I love their heart, their vision, their values. We align at the core of just who we are. And so that was really important for me. They have built, I think track record is really important, that they've executed. And so they have put together an investor committee that is world-class. So I think track record is really key. There was one other thing I really wanted to mention. I was about to say, and it slipped my mind. One thing that's really important for me that I've learned early on is just communication. We've been a part of stuff and communication was poor. And so like, if I can't pick up, don't feel comfortable calling you and talking and asking questions, we're probably not going to work together, because
love that one. Nice.
I work fast. And so if you can't talk to me, like we're going to have an issue. So I think that's a red flag for me, is communication. So if you're an investor, how well do your sponsors communicate with you, I think is really key. That's something you want to be asking. So that's just on the sponsor level. And I think we have like on that checklist, like 15 or 20 other things like that. But those are the three that originally out the gate are so important to me. And then we get into the market, the deal, just even fundamentals of the project. But, most things, most opportunities could probably be thrown out before you ever even get into the opportunity itself.
Got it. And so we're right now in, what is it, beginning of November. 2020 has absolutely flown. And so my question to you is, should people wait? And I'm referring more to the multifamily, so buying apartments. So should people wait with how things are currently going?
That's a great question, man. Wait in the sense of what? Like wait to offers?
Yeah.
Wait till deals?
Wait until a quote unquote correction would happen. And then right. That's when they start buying.
I mean, that's silly. Like wait to I mean, we're still making offers. I think, again, the way we think about real estate, we're not looking for jackpot, right? We're looking for solid assets that for a long time. So, we don't necessarily need a massive correction. We'll find good deals in that sense. So we're consistently making offers. So we're not sitting on the sidelines in the sense of like, well, we're just going to wait for whatever the economy does or whoever's going to win the presidency. Today's election day, which is kind of cool, right? So no, we're not waiting, but I would say certainly like there is some wisdom in, I just be honest with you, I don't really understand some of our markets right now. I mean, everything we make right now is 80-85% of asking. I just don't understand it. I don't see how we can, serve our investors at the prices people are expecting us to pay. So in some ways we're waiting because we're not willing to go up to that price.
But you're just not completely out of the game is right. What it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're still showing up, still making offers, still going and touring properties. We're still looking at deals. We like multifamily for the long term, but just doesn't mean we're always like, we're ready to write that big check. So we're showing up, we're doing what it takes to what would potentially hopefully get deals done. But I'll be honest, like we've been on the sidelines in the sense of actually purchasing deals because we haven't worked yet. So yes and no would be my answer to that. We're still pretty conservative. And
just sticking to the fundamentals too, in terms of the underwriting, not saying, okay, I am going to bank on, normally this market would be 2 to 3% growth, but in order to make this deal work, I'm going to do 6 to 7%, or the property tax, once it get reassessed, it's actually going to be at 75-80% of the value versus going. So yeah, that's why I see some people making those errors, but yeah.
Well, and we've got really creative too. Like we probably would have never looked at low income housing up to this point, but we've realized that maybe that's a way that we can carve out a niche in our marketplace where most folks see light tech, 60% is government housing, and they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with that. And we're like, well, it's probably just because you don't understand it. So if we could take the time to understand how to underwrite it, which is a beast to do. But if we can figure that out, then maybe that's a way we can find other opportunities that people would just pass on. And so, it's not sitting on the sideline, but it's saying, well, what's being offered to us that we feel good about buying, and can we do that?
Making
pivots. We're not ready to give up yet, man. So
awesome. Never give up. Winston Churchill, that's a quote by him. And so now moving on to our rapid fire sharing round. The first one is, what is one common myth that you hear, Ellis, that you can debunk? Let's say on the multifamily commercial side.
Okay, on the multifamily side. What is one common myth that we hear a lot? Well, I do a lot with raising capital, and I think this myth that you have to I see a lot everyone's trying to be kind of this big brand, and compete with everyone, and they're trying to attract everyone. I say this: if your brand or your messaging is not both compelling and repelling folks, then you don't have a good.
So polarizing, you would say.
It's got to be polarizing, like in the sense of I want folks to look at what we're building and say, either, man, I really like Ellis, because here's the thing. So I don't have the biggest track record, right? I don't have the most experience in the world of multifamily. So how do I get on stage with guys like you, guys like Grant Cardone, guys like all these folks we know, and someone say, I want to go work with Ellis more than go work with them, it's because I have a story that is compelling and that is niched down where some folks want to work with me really bad, and some folks say, that guy is just too much. Like, he talks about his faith too much. I don't want to go work with him. So I hate this misconception that you got to go reach everyone. No, I really hope our message in a lot of ways turns people off. And I know it does, because I get LinkedIn messages talking about, well, why are you talking about your faith so much? Like, that's me. Like, that's what we do. And
Got it.
And so that's a big one.
Got it. And the next one, what is one absurd or unusual thing that you enjoy doing?
That's hilarious. One third thing that we really like doing. Wow, that's a great question. Absurd. Wow, you caught me off guard on this one, man. How do you answer this question? That will help me rack my brain.
Mine is bird watching. I enjoy going bird watching.
Interesting.
Or absurd.
Absurd. Well, I like surfing, and so it's the water's 50, 60 degrees, and so some people would think that's a little crazy to go and surf in cold water out here in the Pacific Ocean, but we love it, man. It's a great way to kind of get out and do something different. I got to think on this one. That's a good question.
Yeah, I was like, we'll go with that. Yeah. And the last one is, why do you believe we're here on Earth?
I think it's a great question, man. Well, for me, as a man of faith, I believe God's given us all a purpose. We're part of a bigger story, which doesn't make any of us insignificant. I think it actually just makes us more significant when we realize, hey, we're put here for a much greater purpose than our own, which is to serve God and love others. And so, but we play a unique part in that. And so I think all of that purpose is going to be different for other folks, but it's part of this bigger story of really loving God and loving people. And so that's what we're out to do, man. We have a mission statement to glorify God in our business and to really care and steward our capital that impacts individual lives, transforms communities. And so that's really what we're doing. And I think everyone can go similar to that.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thanks so much. And as mentioned, those of you on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell, and on all the other platforms, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Go ahead and leave that rating. We'd love to hear your feedback. Where can people find you?
EllisHammond.com. EllisHammond.com is a great place to go. Like I said, I've already thrown out like 7 call to actions, but if you want to, I haven't given that out forever. I think that could be a great one for folks. EllisHammond.com/checklist. And then LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me. I put a lot of content there. I have my own hashtag called #ThinkWealthy, and would love to interact with you on there. And then we have a podcast show, Kingdom REI Podcast, for anyone who maybe is faith-based and wants to learn more about entrepreneurship, investing. That's a great place to go as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Experience. If this has brought you any value, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to me. Now go out there and crush it.